A very warm welcome to the army of marketing introverts. Coming up on today's big show, Celsius and Rockstar are bringing their advertising energy in-house. Live sports continue to dominate TV's ad business. CMOs are relearning that customer retention is the easiest money you'll ever make. Plus, a spotlight on Toyota's Mermaid and UGG on today's big show. Chris, if you work in the great industry of marketing, advertising, or comms, give us 10 minutes and we'll give you your next $10,000 raise. Let's get it. Welcome to Darshan from Boy Throb's favorite show about marketing. I'm Matthew Newell.
And I'm Chris Stone. And you marketing geniuses can't stop the throb on the marketing intel you're about to receive in the next 10 minutes so you can keep your week in sync. Matthew, oops, did we do it again?
Here's what you need to know from the industry that is increasingly comfortable with consumers not knowing if it's real or fake. Today's lead headline: Celsius Holdings, the parent company of Celsius, Alani Nu, I don't know that one, and Rockstar Energy, crossed the 2025 line with $2.5 billion in revenue, a whopping 85% year-over-year increase. At the same time, they have announced that they're creating a full-service in-house ad agency. Previous to this announcement, they worked in a hybrid in-house outside agency model, not uncommon as brands try to scale. The underlying reason for the shift: speed and authenticity. They can now pivot at the whim of the CEO or CMO, and there's reduced time in onboarding an outside agency that isn't familiar with the intricacies of a well-built brand. As someone who is at the center of an in-house agency for a Fortune 50 company for a number of years, I will be the first one to say that the challenges of going in-house are numerous, but very overcomable.
You know, nothing says authenticity like a $2.5 billion brand deciding the fastest way to pivot is to argue with itself in-house instead of paying an agency to ignore its emails.
Next up in our marketing queue, live sports continue to dominate the ad space. Nielsen is reporting that almost 30% of all ad-supported TV viewing came from sports in the fourth quarter of last year. Broadcast TV without sports accounted for just 10% of total ad-supported viewership. I should note that because this data comes from the end of last year, you've got the NFL, college football, and Major League Baseball tucked in there. So the scales are tipped a bit. Why should this matter to you? There's a certain kind of creative in the advertising business that could mistake a hockey puck for a cricket ball. Those days are over. You got to know about sports and live sports specifically.
Yeah, live sports are so dominant that half the creative in America is now Googling what is offsides while pretending they had season tickets since they were born.
That's a technical file. And our final headline: everyone in marketing needs a regular reminder about what we learned on day 4 of Marketing 101. Customer retention is the easiest money you'll ever make. The concept is even more relevant when cost per acquisition, or CPA, has increased 35% over the last 5 years. As backward as it sounds, retention is more difficult than acquisition, mainly because the digital platforms are built around conversion. Once they are your customer, they are your customer. I would love to see a marketplace where brands are hiring as many retention specialists as they are growth marketers, which is really just industry speak for a digital salesperson. One more time for emphasis: customer retention is the easiest money brands will ever make. Very, very, very few do it well.
Yeah, Matthew, I can't help but make the whole preaching to the converted church analogy here. Marketers talk about lifetime value like it's a religion. Then they spend all their budget converting strangers while their actual customers sit in the pews wondering if the church is actually even open.
That's right. I was at a former job. We used to joke that all we're doing is fighting over the same 2-3 million customers and just churning them with our competitors. It is not fun.
That's a great one. But now, Matthew, it's time for my favorite segment, and that is Real Recognize Real. And this week's Real Recognize Real goes out to a brand that finally remembered something radical. Cars don't have to be explained. They can just be cool. Toyota's CHR Mermaid spot drops you straight into a world that looks like someone spliced a sci-fi daydream with a fashion film and said, yep, ship it. No overcooked voiceover, no feature dump, no guy in a polo pointing at a trunk space like he's unveiling the Ark of the Covenant. Another religious little phrase right there. Instead, we get the surreal little story. A mermaid out of water, caught between two worlds, moving through the city like she's half myth, half club kid, all while you float along to the trip-hop jam Underwater Love by Smoke City. The car isn't the hero. It's the partner in crime. It matches her energy, Matthew. It belongs in the same little weird, beautiful universe. That's the flex, because most auto ads still look like they were focus grouped by oatmeal. A wide shot of a mountain road, dramatic drone, reinventing mobility, copy, cut to the logo, cue generic indie band. You could swap the badges. Nobody's going to notice. Toyota here actually picks a lane. They commit to a mood. They commit to a character. They commit to a look that would absolutely confuse a spreadsheet. And that's why it works. This is what I love. The ad respects, Matthew, that people are buying a feeling, not a spec sheet. It understands that design is identity, not just sporty lines put into a deck by someone that's never driven above 40. The Mermaid isn't there to make sense. She's there to make you remember. So yeah, Real Recognize Real goes to Toyota for making a car ad that feels like a music video you'd actually watch twice. And for trusting that if you give us a strong world, a strong vibe, and one unforgettable visual, we'll connect the dots ourselves. More of this, Matthew, and less reinventing the way we drive BS.
I love this so much. Another one of like marketing 101, this is probably day 3, is that people don't buy things with their head. They buy things with their emotions. And this is such a good example of exactly that. Well done.
Yeah, good job, Toyota.
Chris, I'm building off of your Coinbase Real Recognize Real from last week to highlight another ad that is built practically, that is without the use of CGI or AI. UGG, a brand that is yet to grace my feet, is re-releasing their Fluff Yeah slides and to have comedian Akasu Akasua to kick off the campaign. Apologies if I got that wrong. The Instagram spot is a wonderfully clever wink to the camp classic Attack of the 50-Foot Women from the late 1950s. The footwear brand is also activating pop-ups in Southern California to both hype their Fluff Yeah slides and double down on their strategic decision not to use AI in their advertising or marketing campaigns, period. This is something that their plastic footwear competitor Crocs has also been very public about this year as well.
Matthew, I love this ad because it's like a big fuzzy middle finger to lazy CGI. Practical effects, a campy 50-foot heroine, and zero AI is exactly how you make a retro idea feel fresher than half the innovative ads that clog our feeds.
And Atsuka is so funny. I love it. This is a gem. Okay, Chris, this week we're going to switch it up. Instead of doing over under, we're going to do a new segment called Wrong Answers Only. Only questions about marketing and advertising and only wrong answers. This week, if you had one TV commercial playing on your tombstone for the rest of your eternal life, what would it be?
Oh, this one's easy. It's the 1978 Ronco commercial for Mr. Microphone. And for those of you who are in my age group, you know exactly what that is. It's this little cheap FM transmitter that works with a microphone. And I want that commercial not only playing on my tombstone, Matthew, I want an actual Mr. Microphone built into my tombstone. So when people come by my tombstone, they can pick up the mic, maybe sing "Don't Stop Believing" with me, or maybe a podcast with a dude that's dead 6 feet under. Matthew, look, finally you could show up and I'll finally be the silent partner that you always wanted.
I love it. My wrong answer only. I would go back and find the worst Mountain Dew ad before they became extreme, before they became like this whole brand unto itself. I'm going to find the terrible one from 1980 with the kid on the BMX bike riding around, and I will put that on repeat for the rest of my eternal life, mainly because I'd be hoping that some of that Mountain Dew just trickles down into the grave so I can always quench my thirst with the greatest taste that God has ever invented.
That is just gorgeous and dark, really.
Well, it is dark down here.
Yeah. All right, that is it for this week's Marketing Machines and Mischief. Go ahead in the comments. Let us know what commercial you want playing on your tombstone, and get witty, get funny, and maybe tell us your little dark story about why that is. And also, before you go, click the subscribe button, the bells, the likes, and whatever else is thrown in front of you on your video player or on your audio podcast earballs. But before we go, we're
going to say goodbye with a little lesson learned. Algorithmic sameness is real, and it's coming for all of us. See you next week.